Ava never liked basements. Even before they moved into the old house, she had always felt uneasy about places that stayed cold no matter the season. The one in their new rental was worse than most. The air down there was thick and still, carrying a damp smell that clung to her clothes. Every footstep echoed like it didn't belong to her. When she first walked down the narrow stairs, she swore she could hear something faint under the noise of her own breathing. A soft hum in the walls, steady and low, like a quiet vibration that never stopped. Her dad said it was just old wiring. The house had been built in the late 70s, back when half the neighborhood hadn't even existed yet. Her mom said it had character. Ava wasn't sure that was a good thing. They'd moved there right before Halloween, trying to save money while her dad looked for new work. The landlord lived 2 towns over and barely spoke to them except to drop off the keys. Ava's mom called the place temporary, but Ava already knew that word didn't make her feel any better. Some houses felt like they were waiting for something. This one felt like it already knew what it wanted. The first few days passed quietly. Boxes were unpacked, curtains were hung, and her dad spent a weekend fixing creaky doors that never really stopped creaking. Then, while exploring the basement, Ava found something strange behind a stack of old paint cans. A box TV, big and square, with fake wood panels and dust thick enough to write her name in. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. The plug was still wrapped around the back like someone meant to move it, but never did. When she called her dad down to see it, he laughed. "That thing? You could fit a whole computer in there. I'll toss it out when I rent a truck." But he didn't. He just wiped his hands on a rag and told her to leave it for now. Ava felt drawn to it, though she couldn't explain why. That night, she went down again with a flashlight. She brushed off the screen, found the outlet, and plugged it in. Nothing happened. No sound, no static, just silence. She exhaled, disappointed but relieved, and went back upstairs. At 3 o'clock that morning, the sound woke her. A faint hiss that drifted through the floor vents, not loud enough to be alarming, but strange enough to make her sit up. The room was dark, except for a thin slice of moonlight on the floor. The sound came again, steady, rhythmic, like the soft buzz between radio stations. She got up, pulled on her sweatshirt, and followed it downstairs. The sound grew louder near the basement door. Light flickered behind the crack, pale and restless. When she stepped onto the first stair, the hum vibrated through her feet. The TV was on. It glowed white in the corner, the static bright enough to light the basement walls. The hiss filled the space like breathing. Ava froze halfway down the steps. For a second, she thought she saw movement in the noise, a shifting shadow behind the waves. Then, 2 faint dark shapes formed where eyes should be. Her chest tightened. The static flickered again, and the shadow leaned closer. It was her own reflection, or something wearing it. The face on the screen looked like her, but the smile stretching across its mouth was wrong. Too wide, too patient. Ava stumbled backward. The basement light flickered once and went out. The static faded to black. When she ran upstairs, her hands were shaking so hard she could barely grip the banister. The next morning, she told her parents what happened. Her dad smiled, half asleep over his coffee. "Dreams can feel real when you're not used to a new place," he said. Her mom brushed it off too, though Ava caught a flicker of unease in her eyes. "You probably just saw your reflection," she said. "That basement light's terrible." Ava didn't argue, but she didn't go near the basement the rest of the day either. That night, she unplugged the TV. She wound the cord tightly and set it on the floor beside it. When she came down the next morning, the plug was back in the outlet. The air felt heavier than before. The hum in the walls was louder now, a steady tone she could almost feel in her teeth. She didn't tell her parents this time. She just stayed upstairs, pretending everything was normal. 2 nights later, she woke to her baby brother crying. Her mom had already gone to his room, but the baby monitor on Ava's nightstand crackled with static. She leaned closer, waiting to hear her mom's voice. Instead, she heard her own. It was faint, buried under the hiss, but clear. "Ava, It whispered, "Come downstairs." Her whole body went cold. She turned the monitor off and stared into the dark. A minute later, the sound came again, this time from the vent near her bed. The same whisper, the same voice. When morning came, she convinced her dad to throw the TV out. He hauled it up the stairs, grumbling about old junk, and left it by the curb. The house finally felt quiet again. No humming, no static. That night, for the first time in days, Ava slept. 3 days later, the storm hit. It started with thunder deep enough to shake the windows. Rain poured down in heavy sheets, and lightning flashed like the sky was tearing itself apart. Ava sat in bed watching the trees bend in the wind. Then the power blinked once and came back on. She reached for her phone to check the time, 3:01 a.m. That was when she heard it again. A low hiss came from the hallway. Not from the vent this time, but from the living room. She stepped out of bed, her stomach tight, and followed the sound. When she turned the corner, the flicker caught her eye. The flat-screen TV her parents had bought last Christmas was on, filling the dark room with the gray glow of static. She grabbed the remote and hit the power button. Nothing changed. The static rolled and shifted, and behind it, something started to take shape. A faint outline pressed against the glass from the inside, pushing forward as if the screen were thin as water. Fingers, a face. It was hers again. Her breath caught as the reflection's mouth opened, though she hadn't moved. Then came the voice, quiet, soft, broken like radio feedback. "I found another screen." The remote fell from her hand. She backed away until her shoulder hit the wall. The lights in the room flickered, and for an instant she saw her reflection step closer inside the TV, as if walking forward into the static. When the thunder cracked overhead, the screen went black. The power stayed out for almost an hour. Her parents found her sitting on the floor when they woke, shaking, unable to explain what happened. Her dad unplugged the TV and blamed the storm. Her mom held her and said, "It's over now." But it wasn't. That morning, when sunlight finally broke through the clouds, the house was quiet again. But the walls weren't. The faint hum had returned, low and steady, like something whispering just behind the drywall. Ava pressed her ear against it and heard what sounded like breathing. Then, underneath it, a faint electric hiss, like static trying to form a word. That afternoon, her dad went out to the curb to throw away the old TV for good. It wasn't there. He figured the garbage truck had already come early. But Ava noticed something strange through the rain-streaked window. The patch of grass where it had sat was dry. No wheel marks, no mud, no sign that anything had ever been there. That night, her little brother's baby monitor turned on by itself. The static filled the room again, louder this time. Ava sat frozen, watching the red signal light flicker. Then a soft tapping started against the screen of her phone on the desk. 1 tap, 2, 3. She looked down, and her lock screen lit up on its own. Her reflection smiled back at her. She turned the phone face down, heart pounding. The tapping didn't stop. By the next morning, the hum was everywhere, through the vents, in the walls, even in the silence between footsteps. Her parents didn't hear it or pretended not to. Her mom said maybe she needed rest. Her dad said he'd call an electrician. But that night, when he plugged his phone into the charger beside the bed, it flickered once, and static rolled across the screen. Ava sat in her room staring at her reflection in the window. Her own faint outline stared back, but something about it looked wrong. The smile again, subtle, knowing, patient. She closed the curtains, lay down, and tried to sleep. At exactly 3 a.m., the house came alive with a sound like 100 radios tuning at once. Her lamp blinked, her phone screen glowed, and the faint blue light spread across every corner of the room. The reflection in the mirror smiled wider now. The static whispered her name again. Then the power went out completely. When the sun rose, the house was silent. The only thing out of place was the family's flat-screen TV, turned slightly toward the hallway. Its black glass held the faint outline of a face, half smiling, waiting in the reflection. Ava hasn't turned on a screen since, but sometimes When thunder rolls in the distance, her phone lights up on its own. No calls, no messages, just white noise breathing softly through the speaker. And somewhere inside it, something is still smiling.